Should I just start?
Hey.
Okay.
Well, I'll start off with the welcome to everyone, if that's okay. Right. So welcome everyone to this PhD support group meeting. This is the Tuesday session of the weekly UKZN Doctoral Academy program. I'm Dr. Lenny Liebenberg. Thank you very much for joining us today. As a reminder to our regulars and new information to our newbies. This is a very casual, very supportive space. And we really encourage interaction at the PhD support group meeting. So please feel free and comfortable enough to interact with the speakers, interact with each other in the chat box, post questions in the chat box and comments. Use your reaction icons whenever you feel like expressing your thoughts in a very constructive manner. If at times you feel a little bit too shy or are not comfortable saying something out loud or in the chat box, you're welcome to please send me a message and I'll read it out for you anonymously if you'd prefer that way. Okay, so let's get into it. Today we have Dr. Pamela Pillay joining us, and she'll be leading a discussion about planning your academic journey. So Dr. Pillay is in fact an academic at UKZN. She's a senior lecturer in the discipline of clinical anatomy and also an academic leader of teaching and learning in the School of Laboratory Medicine and Medical Sciences. So you know we are in good hands here to learn about planning for a journey along the path in academia. Thank you so much, Dr. Pamela Pillay, for joining us today. I am as excited as everyone else on the call for you joining us. The floor is yours. Do you have any slides you'd like to share? I can stop mine.
I would like to. Let me just.
There we go. Let me make you a host, and you are able to. Oops, I made you the host, yeah. But you should be able to share your slides now.
Okay. Let me just make you a co-host so that the recording doesn't get interfered.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Okay, so you'll just need to make your slides into presenter mode or full screen.
Sure.
There we go.
You can see that.
Whoa, I'm so excited.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Lenine, for that introduction. Excited to be here at this PhD support group meeting. And thanks for the invite to share this journey in academia. Right, disclaimer, I don't know it all. So you as participants may know more than me in some instances. Feel free to let me know if you want to add or stop at any point, and I would do so. Okay, so a bit about my academic journey and what it entailed before I go into the nitty-gritty of it. So as an academic, you have to, well, I started off as a demonstrator in the discipline of anatomy or a tutor. And from there, I transitioned to the academic developmental officer, an ADO, as you know them. And then I became a lecturer in the discipline. So it's like I am the hardwood part of the discipline. In terms of planning from my academic journey, at the outset, I didn't get direction on how or what to expect when you become this academic. So it was a scary time when I decided, as now an academic, I want to apply for promotion. And there I have this big document staring back at me. And I realized I didn't keep the necessary information to complete an application. So it was a real eye-opener. Because of that eye-opener, these days I tend to tell my students to start doing what I did not do early on. So at one point I felt I was doing it all, but at the end I couldn't have anything to show for it. So it was really, really scary. And I felt at that point like I have not been achieving much because I had not kept enough data for my promotion application. So the first step to this academic journey is obviously to complete your postgraduate studies. I know some of you on this call may have already be academics or in that particular working in that particular direction. We must not also lose focus on our goals as a postgraduate student, even while working as an academic. I know it's a tough role to balance, but for me, it was a very difficult balancing road. I did my master's while I got married, and then I did my PhD while I had a new baby. So it was scary. It was more work, and you still had to balance this big life as an academic. The academic role has lots of perks. It also has lots of challenges and lots of work over the call of duty. So sometimes you find you would like to have that normal 8 to 4 job where you go home at 4 o'clock and then just chill and watch Netflix. With academia, it doesn't work that way. So when you get into academia, it's like constant work. As I'm going to go through the slides, you will see the different aspects that you would have to balance together with your home life. So for me, I feel there's no such thing as work-life balance. You have to make it work for you and how you would like to balance it. So the first step in starting this journey is getting yourself a mentor. Now, it's not one size fits all. Sometimes you would find that your supervisor can be your mentor in an aspect of perhaps maybe research. However, you would find that you would approach Dr. Liebenberg for mentorship in a way of motivating you or teaching you a particular skill. And similarly, you will approach Professor Aldos with her wisdom for or insight into how to become a professor. So it's different people for different things. Now, as an academic at UKZN, you have 4 roles. You have to be a teacher, right? So that's teaching and learning. You would have to be an administrator. You would also have to be a researcher. And you'd also need to be involved in community engagement. So these 4 aspects, they form the basis for what your academic duties for a day will entail. Now, for instance, if you are looking for a mentor at an early stage in your career, I would say you would want a mentor to help you with how to get a teaching portfolio. Now, teaching portfolios is something that an academic member of staff would have to keep. It tells you your personal teaching philosophy. It will tell the person that's reading it your method of teaching, your method of assessments. And it also gives the reader an understanding of what your peers evaluate you on, um, as well as what students evaluate you on, right? Now, in terms of those QPA evaluations that we always do yearly, it's not just to collect data, it's for us as academics to collect this data and then use the data to improve in our science, in our teaching, in our how students learn, and what we can improve and what we can also take back as our excellence in our teaching. So for mentorship, I would say you will get a mentor to teach you how to teach, because many of us come into this into academia as scientists or clinicians. We don't come in as an educator or as a teacher, so we don't have that teacher background. So it would be nice to have a mentor, for instance, in education, in medical education, uh, in education as a whole. So having that mentorship would help you. It also help you with advice in how you teach and how to improve that. Then for your research, you would find there are many research professors at our institution. You would approach one of them to get advice on maybe perhaps postgraduate supervision or postgraduate throughput. So as part of your journey as an academic, you were expected to research and you are expected to supervise students. Right? This takes up 45% of your role as an academic. So you would also need to know how to bring in funding for your own research. So a mentor for that direction would also assist you for your success as an academic. For administration, you would get training on how to use learn.ukzn, how to run assessments on it, and those kind of things. And then for community engagement, it is a sharing of your knowledge. So taking your science and communicating that science to the general public. So you can get mentorship from a PR person or even the science communication um, companies that will train you on how to share your actual research to the public. In finding this mentor, you must always keep your goal in mind as well. So your goal would be to be an academic that would now be able to climb that ladder with the help of another person so that you are successful in your journey. I don't believe in a lonely journey. Some do, some like to work in silos, but for me, I think I worked better with working in a team. And when you had assistance and asking for that assistance, knocking on doors early on, and keeping all your evidence of your teaching. That means keeping a record of your lecture PowerPoint slides, keeping a record of an email that a student sent to you to say you were amazing in this lecture, keeping all those evidence in a storage on your computer or print it out and keep it in a box, because that's going to help you later on in your promotion application. So as an academic, this is our job description at UKZN. So it's for training of undergraduate and postgraduate students, right? So it's building knowledge, it's research and publication, right? There's a lot of emphasis on the research and publication because it carries a lot of weight. It also helps you to collaborate with other individuals nationally and internationally, right? You become a recognized scientist and a recognized teacher. I mentioned the administration, you're going to be module coordinators, right? So take on those roles. It might seem like I don't have time to do it, but you should try being a module coordinator, right? Learn from others, coordinate a module, take on leadership roles. I know for me, the leadership position, it was very scary in the beginning. It's a lot of juggling many balls in the air, because as an academic leader of teaching and learning, I still am an academic in the discipline of clinical anatomy. So it means I am still running that four balls of teaching, research, community engagement, as well as administration. So I also, up to today, seek mentorship. I have peer mentors. I have mentors that are from other disciplines that assist me. For instance, with my research, I am a drill fellow at the university, but that entails attending workshops. Workshops assist me to build my knowledge that will help me with my own research. I'm in the area of health research ethics. So I work with people well known in the area to train me, to give me guidance on how to be a better at that research component. Similarly, with teaching, I approached people in different disciplines to ask them how to become a better teacher. Teaching is not generally about reading from a slide or PowerPoint. It's how do you engage with the staff and with the students, and what do you bring into the classroom, right? So these are the areas of responsibility at UKZN. So we have those four areas, and it tells you the distribution of our percentage of the job that we are contributing. With administration, it says 5%. But in reality, how do we measure that 5% when we're sitting 5 hours capturing marks? Or we're spending 2 days marking? So it really does not, it's not a true reflection, I feel. Well, this is my personal view of, of the percentages, because some days we are sitting with our research for a week. Some days we are sitting well into the mornings, marking students' drafts. We are teaching, plus we take hours to come up with innovative PowerPoints. We have to go back and research what's out there in terms of publications to add it to our teaching, to keep the student that now has access to all these things on their devices more fun and more exciting, so that they do come for your lectures and they do want to be seated there rather than just wanting a recording of the lecture. So how do we keep that engagement? So it takes up a lot more. And as I mentioned, that work-life balance becomes very blurred as an academic. So if you are considering going on this journey, you have to consider all these aspects. At one stage, earlier on, when I first transitioned to a lecturer, I all I did was work. So it was a constant, because we were chasing deadlines. You always chasing the next step, right? And you want to always be on top of your research, on top of the area that you are in, or in the field that you are in. So it means constantly reading, constantly being immersed in your work, but also taking out time to be with your family and be with your friends and balance that. I know many of us have that problem of separating the two. I know COVID has made it much more difficult to have those workshops where we always seated in one venue, where we had that human interaction face to face. It was a different experience where we get energies from others and you continue with that. Now, during the COVID, it became much more difficult to take this journey of academia alone, because you were still sitting with others on a Zoom call, but it's not the same as sitting with somebody in the room. So that dynamic as well has shifted. So when you start, now if you are postgraduate students, remember, if you are in the same discipline, for instance, and you are two friends, for instance, doing masters, and at the undergraduate level, one graduated summa cum laude, the other just graduated with their degree. When you get to your postgraduate journey, it's quite different. For me, I feel that when students get into this postgraduate journey, you never know who is going to be a good researcher or who is going to be brilliant at research. Once you start your honors or your masters, I say that's when your CV building should begin. Your publications are what's going to set you aside from others in terms of your application to institutions to become an academic. So it's your qualifications together with your publication profile. So build that publication profile earlier. I know sometimes the supervisors are putting pressure on you to build your CV. And I know some students probably think that it's because the supervisor just wants to build their own profile, but it's not the case. It's your research, it's your work, and you should publish your work internationally. You should be recognized for that work that you have done. And by doing that, you build your CV, And then you're going to add different sections as follows in your CV. So your academic CV is much more different from a normal CV that's normally done. So this is the components that go into the academic CV. You have positions and honors. That means you must also register with a society. So for instance, I'm in anatomy, so I am part of the Anatomical Society of Southern Africa. You become a member of that society that you are studying towards. Once you become a member, then you will get notices from that society on vacancies that are out there, of trainings that are available, right? And it also affords you an opportunity to network, right? So for myself as a student, I joined the society, and today I'm a council member on that society, and I'm an executive council member as of last year. So you grow within that society that you join. So you add those honors into your CV. Your publications, your conference proceedings, they all go into your CV. So it shows the person that's reading that you are able to do research on your own. You are working in the field that you are training to become an academic in. You also have research support. You mentioned the grants that you achieve. For instance, your NRF freestanding scholarships. You mentioned your teaching. If you are still a postgraduate student, maybe you are taking up teaching as a teaching assistant, or you're working as a demonstrator. You use those things to train yourselves, right? And then the service that you are contributing towards UKZN. For instance, I'm now the academic leader of teaching and learning, so that's a service towards the university. I'm also on the BREC committee, so that also now adds service, university service. So you must try to see how you can best build your CV from now. So even if you take away these points and then you write down what you have and then build on that, you can start anytime. For academic promotion, as you know, UKZN has an academic promotion policy. They take on a very scholarly approach, but they also use the system that we have. It's the Integrated Talent Management System, which is your KPAs, which is aligned to your KPAs. And the goal is to recognize excellent performance of academic staff. Now, remember, we have those 4 key areas at UKZN. It does not mean that you have to be excellent in every single component of those 4 key areas. You can be excellent in research, and you can be marked as, I can't get the word right now, this slipped my mind, right? So you don't have to be, you can be excellent in research and you can show strength in your teaching, for instance. Or you can show strength in excellence in teaching and strength in research. So they mark you on these different criteria, right? So you can get promoted from a lecturer to a senior lecturer, and then you apply again from a senior lecturer to an associate professor, and then from associate professor to a full professor, right? Even if you have an associate professorship, you still can be called a professor at the university, right? It's an entitlement that belongs to a university or an institution. So once you retire, your professorship falls away and you become a doctor because that's your last qualification. And unless you are excellent in research, then after you can apply to become an emeritus professor, which is a lifelong professor affiliated to an institution, right? So the goal of the academic promotion also enables us to recruit the top academics. So if you are a student or a postgraduate student at a PhD level, and the discipline feels that you have been motivated enough, you have been CV building, you have been publishing, as well as presenting at conferences, the discipline can headhunt or recruit you to become a lecturer within that discipline and motivate for that, right? It also facilitates transformation, um, and it recognizes a value of our scholarship, right? In terms of the professional practice, right? If you remember that UKZN employs medically qualified doctors as well as allied health professionals, it also recognizes that value to that fields. Okay, now in keeping with our reach values at UKZN, this is intertwined with your life as an academic, right? In terms of respect, respect for the peers, respect for students, respect for self, excellence in teaching, excellence in research, accountability, right? I think accountability is very important, right? People should be held accountable for actions in your academic career, as well as client orientation and honesty. Client orientation deals with our clients, that means our students at UKZN. Right, so this application for promotion, it shows you in this table different information that you need as a senior lecturer, what you are required, right? Who they are. So senior lecturers are mid-level academics, right? So at this stage, I am a senior lecturer, so I'm involved in establishing myself nationally and internationally, right? An associate professor, now associate professor means that you have now established yourself as a senior lecturer. Now you're making significant contribution in scholarship, right? So it can be scholarship of teaching, it can be scholarship of research, right? And you have this standing within your field. You are now recognized by peers internationally, right? You're also now building a national profile as an academic, and you're taking on leadership roles. So for me to now go into the next step or to apply for promotion to an associate professor, for me, I had to tick boxes before my application that now I'm making contribution significantly. So I got to look at my research profile and see if I've made any significant contributions in a particular niche area. I have to look at my standing nationally. So what am I contributing nationally to anatomy? And what am I doing in terms of service to the university in terms of leadership, right? And then for a full professor, now these are established at national and international levels. They're experts in their field, right? And they already are leaders within the university, right? In terms of outputs, so for research, they look at research publication output. That means how many papers you have achieved. Then they look at the quality of your research output. Where are you publishing? Are you publishing always in low impact factor journals? Are you publishing in high impact factor journals? Is your work recognized? What is your citation? Do you have a research gate login? Are you an ORCID, right? Can we find you on Scopus? So they're looking for those kind of things under your quality. So are you getting that? You're also going to do postgraduate supervision. Now, postgraduate supervision is we're supervising students. So we supervise students at an honors level, at a master's, and at a PhD level. It's not only their supervision. It's like, how are we developing the student as well as an academic, or for their careers as an academic? What is the throughput of the students? So it's not only registering the student, and then the student is sitting and the supervisor is taking you on this long journey of supervision. You're going year in and year out, and you're still not making sufficient progress. It's not that. It's throughput. It's that if a student is registered for a master's degree full-time, are you graduating that student in 2 years? So the student university usually gives you M+1. So the registered year +1. So are you graduating the student in time? Or is the student sitting in the system now for 5 years without that master's degree? So what have you contributed as a supervisor to that student? Uh, Also, what has the student contributed that delayed their progress? So that's when your evaluations come in. You can have evaluations from your postgraduate student on how to improve your supervision skills. So this can go into your application as well. In terms of fundraising and grants, are you applying to NIH? Are you applying to NRF? Or are you applying to the MRC? Are you looking for these grants? Are you collaborating to find other people interested in this grant and writing a big grant? How much of money are you bringing into the university, right? So that all impacts on your promotion at a university. And then what impact do you have on society, right? So this is like policy implementation. Are you working on different policies? Are you doing, if you're in the health sciences, as you all are, what are you contributing, right, for the life of people? So what are you changing in terms of that impact? You're standing in the discipline. So as I mentioned, if you are a postgraduate student, I say go now and register with your societies, right? Then as you build, you would get recognized. People will invite you to review journal articles. So because you are recognized, the journals will ask you to review. Other conferences will ask you to review their abstracts. They'll invite you to be guest speakers at conferences, right? So networking is important. And then your teaching and learning. So teaching and learning falls to 45%. So you will work on a teaching portfolio, a teaching statement. As I mentioned earlier on, your teaching portfolio and your teaching statement, they give you information on how you teach, your style of teaching, your philosophy of teaching. So you have to philosophize here. You have to say that you have to use a lot of educationalist type of terminology. So this is where you will try to find a mentor in education to help direct you, or direct your writing in terms of your philosophy of practice. How are you coordinating modules? That would be the first step. Coordinate a module. Do administration on the module, and then ask for feedback. Ask for feedback from your peers. Ask for feedback from your students, and then improve on that feedback, right, as well. And then it's your university service. So you play leadership roles within the university. So academic leaders of disciplines, academic leaders of teaching and learning, academic leaders of research, become a dean, right? So this will help you in your application for promotion. Like if you are a dean, then I'm sure you're going to now be applying for promotion to a full professor, right? Whereas if you are a module coordinator, or you're serving at a teaching and learning committee or a research and higher education committee, then you can apply from a lecturer to a senior lecturer. So it's small service for a particular level. So the table is in my slides, which I will make available to you so you can have it. Right? But as I mentioned, we always go back to mentorship. So you have to pick the right mentors, and you have to want to pick your own mentor. And sometimes mentors are actioned upon us. So sometimes your supervisor will say, that person will be a great mentor for you, and let me allocate. Sometimes it works out, but other times it's not always a great fit. You would find that you may not get along with that person, or you may not feel comfortable in their presence. So the best approach is for you to write down, where do you think you need improvement? Where do you need mentorship? And you could also ask yourself, even though you are a student or even an academic, you should ask yourself, what can you offer as a mentor as well? Because it does not necessarily mean we cannot learn from students as well. So you may know some amazing skill on how to do podcasting, which we would use for our lectures. So you would teach an academic that skill, or an academic will teach you that skill. So it has to be a two-way street, and it has to be a commitment from both sides that this is how the mentorship would work, right? But in terms of your academic journey, I would say the starting point is write down those 4 key areas at the university, and then ask yourself, which area do I want to tackle now? And do I need a mentor to help me tackle this area? And if the answer is yes, I need that mentor, then I would say go knock on some doors or write those emails and ask the person for assistance. Usually people are very helpful, right? So this just gives you the different types of mentorship that you can have in your academic journey, right? It can be formal, informal, virtual these days, face-to-face or peer-to-peer, right? Sometimes it's nice just to have a cup of coffee with a fellow postgraduate PhD student and have a session where you just want to complain. Sometimes it's nice to have a session where you just want to share information, right? Or sometimes it's just nice to have a cup of coffee and just sit together. So mentorship can be anything, right? It depends what you need at this particular time in your life, right? So this year is just a plan, right? So this, just in case you want to plan where you require mentorship. So you write down your goals for academia. So if you don't know how to complete a CV, write down, I need to learn from somebody how to complete a CV. If you feel your starting point is your supervisor, then you write it down. What is my short term? What is my long-term goals? And then work towards it, right? It will make your life much more easier when you do get to that point of applying for promotion, right? As I mentioned at the outset, for me, it was a difficult journey. At one point, I just sat there and I didn't know what to do because I was not collecting information. I didn't have a file where I'm supposed to keep all these student feedback. I didn't know what to do with the student feedback. So I thought you just keep the feedback and that would be it. Then it was the next step. You keep the feedback and you reflect on it. So everything is a reflective practice for when you're writing your promotion application. So collecting the information, it's your own information, collect them, keep 4 files and just start building that files and then build your CV at the same time. It would seem like a lot of work, but in the long run, it'll make your life much more easier when that promotion call does come up, right? And this is how the evolution of academia works. First, they told us to publish. Then they say publish or perish. Now they say publish in high impact journals or then perish. But now it's publish frequently in high impact and maybe you won't perish, right? So I thank you all for listening to me. It's now time for you to plan. So plan your academic journey. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pam. I've got this list of notes here and questions, if you don't mind. You know, the floor is open to anyone on the call who would like to pose a question, post a comment. You can raise your hand. You can also type a message in the chat box. So just to get the ball rolling, I'm happy to start off with a couple of questions that I have, you know, asking for a friend. So, you know, you're really focused on the value of mentorship. And I feel that it's so very important. And this is just a comment. So there have been a couple of mentorship workshops within the PhD support group meeting. If anybody has missed out on them or would like additional information, you just heard how important mentorship is in an academic journey in most aspects of life. You're welcome to go to the UKZN YouTube website and search for the mentorship videos as part of the Doctoral Academy. It highly complements what Pam is saying about how important it is to have mentorship along your academic journey. So to my actual question, I think that you've highlighted a fantastic point about having a blueprint to work towards along this journey. So knowing what is required for promotion means that you have something to work towards, goals to put in place, people to find to help you along to achieve those goals. How do we get those? Is it easily accessible to students or to people who are interested in becoming academics? Who can I contact to find a form for promotion? Is it on the website or the form for annual evaluation? You mentioned KPAs. Where can I find these blueprints? I'm sure I'm not the only one asking about this.
No, everything is easily accessible. The university usually sends out emails regarding promotions. It comes from particular schools. So your school usually opens up promotion calls. So they send you a batch of documentation, which you can find on the UKZN HR website as well. So it has your talent management on that UKZN HR page as well. It's open to everybody, even if students wanted to access it, because it's an open site. All the documents are found there. You can just download it, read up on those documents. Previously, there used to be a thing called the Senate norms. It was a document that gave you a table of what academics should achieve in terms of publications, how many, give you a fixed number. So then you knew, I felt I worked better with that. Now it's more qualitative rather than quantity. So they don't tell you the physical number. So a physical number usually say you needed 20 publications to apply for associate professorship. When you got 21 publications, you know, oh, automatically I can apply now because I have these publications. Not anymore. Now you got to reflect on your student throughput, on your supervision, etc. So you have to put everything together. But if anybody wants these promotion documents, I have it on my computer. I tend to download them continuously because I want to apply for promotion, but it scares me. Right? So it's scary as well because the yardstick changes. So when you become a lecturer, yeah, you're starting off, tell you, publish, do your teaching, get your teaching portfolio, do all those things. But when you become a senior lecturer, then they say, do university service, do more, add more. So you keep adding more. So as you change to the levels, your student numbers increases, your publication output has to increase, and your teaching would increase as well. So that's what's stopping me from doing it right now. I'm scared to jump onto that journey. And it's also very scary for me to let go, I think, because I found comfort in the zone that I am right now. So it's harder to move forward. But it shouldn't hold any of you back. If you feel you are ready for promotion, the document gives you a blueprint. You will download all the document. The policy, it's detailed, but the information that's relevant to you is probably the first 2 or 3 pages. Thereafter, it's mostly definitions. It tells you how to get your teaching portfolio done, how to get your research profile. So get that first. And I would say get 4 files because that's what I have done now. And plop things into the files, print it out and just leave it in the file. Because when you need it, at that point, you know you got this email, but you never find it. And the promotion deadline is tomorrow, if you like me, and wait for the last minute. Then you have to attach all these appendices and your portfolio looks like 200 pages because that's what it looks like. It's a lot of work. It's like writing another thesis. So if you plop them in different folders or files, you know it's easily accessible. Then you can continuously review it and renew it and add to it or delete what you don't need when you're writing up your teaching portfolio and your research portfolio. The CV updated all the time because you tend to forget which conferences you went for, what was the title of that presentation. Do it when you are ready to submit that conference presentation, because you'll find your conference proceeding will be 200, but you probably forgot 50 because You didn't update it. Like me, my CV, when it first started, I forgot most of the stuff. And then later on, I remembered what else I add to add
Mm,
to my CV. And then you go back and you revise it. So start the CV. The students can start the CV today. The CV is available. I'll even give you a copy of it, right? Try it. Just start your CV, see where your gaps are, and plug those gaps, right? And use a mentor to do the plugging, because that's your stopper. So use a mentorship in that way, where you feel you find a gap, but you don't know what to do with it. Find a mentor who will help you plug that gap.
absolutely. And we are all products of that. I guess you could go to almost any academic right now, and whatever Pam is saying applies to them as well. Especially the horrors of forgetting all your accomplishments at the last minute because you need to set this thing in. So keep PDFs of all your papers, keep abstracts of all your conference attendances. When you'd given a lecture, what you'd given the lecture on, who you've given it to, all those things do count, either towards promotion or well, to include in your CV as well. So I've got more questions, if you don't mind. Very interested. So for our PhD students, our contingent here, you mentioned that your first step was being a demonstrator, being a tutor, and then becoming a, what did you call it? An academic developmental officer? What is that? How does one become that? Is that a prerequisite for becoming an academic within UKZN? How do I do this? I'm a PhD student. I want to be an academic. What now?
Okay, good question. So previously, the academic development officer was discipline specific. So I was the first, myself, and I know you know Dr. Dagama. We were the first academic developmental officers in anatomy. And we had 2 guys in physiology, right? This was many moons ago. Now, when it first started, it was a funding that Professor Sabia Isak got because of the bottleneck in anatomy and physiology. So students were failing anatomy and physiology, and they needed these academic development people to assist them. When we started, we were tutors, basically. We were teaching students in the laboratories. So we did anatomy demonstrations after hours, Saturdays. We did any work you required, be it physical science or whatever the student required in the medical science field. As the years went on, the post has now dissolved to an administrative post. So which doesn't necessarily mean now that the academic developmental officers are going into academia. Usually the ADOs now are from a different field entirely, and they're now working in the School of Health Sciences or in clinical medicine, right? So it became very administrative. So they just consult with students, and they now alert us to which students are underperforming. And then we get a demonstrator, or now we've appointed teaching assistants that will go and assist the student. Now, by working with the students in that way, it's like your first call into how to teach. So you're teaching somebody and you're building your teaching style. So you'll know what the student is getting from that teaching style. But now I'd say don't look towards the ADO as opposed to go into academia anymore. Use your demonstrations within a discipline. And if there's a teaching assistant position coming up, use that because you gain skills in that. Also, volunteer. Volunteer with your supervisor. Tell your supervisor, I want to get some skills in teaching. Can you let me teach this lecture? And you sit in on my lecture and give me feedback. Right? I also did that as well with Professor Satyapal when he was around. Right? So he sat in on lectures, we gave the lecture. He sat in on seminars, we facilitated the seminars. So you have to sometimes volunteer for some things. I know students are looking for salaries as well. The best way to do that would be a demonstrator or TA. But if you want to go above and beyond and you want something from this for your CV, be it if you're applying at UKZN or elsewhere, that letter of recommendation from the person that you volunteer to assist may carry a lot of weight. So consider doing that as well. Volunteer.
Mm.
Don't do a lot. Don't take the entire lecture load. Just one lecture. So
Start somewhere. I see, Colleen, you have your hand up. Would you like to comment?
Yes, I think one of the things that Pamela has said that's very important is different schools have got slightly different approaches to their promotion, because it's not only UKZN employees that get promoted. We've got people who are working outside the university. For example, you, Lanine, you work at Caprisa. We've got lots of clinicians who are actually employed by the DOH. And so I just want to let those people who are here in this meeting right now, don't be scared off. In general, what Pamela has presented is what you have to do. You've got to show community engagement. You've got to show academic achievement. You've got to show academic output. You've got to show supervision. But the weightings might change for wherever you are employed. So don't be scared off by that and just apply. Just sit down one day, start writing and apply. And for heaven's sake, don't be scared. My story, I kicked against it because I just don't like authority. I kicked against it. I was made to apply for my associate professorship. I got it first time. I was asked to apply for the professorship. I kicked against it. I sat down, I filled out the form, sent it in with absolutely no ambition to get it, and I got it. So just do it. Don't be like me. Just do it. And don't be like Pamela, who said she's scared. She can't be scared anymore. Pamela, just do it.
just do it.
Yeah. You are that. We also have on the UKZN YouTube website a session on the imposter syndrome for anybody else who'd like to see that as well. I love that. Don't be scared. I think I'm an example of that as well, Colleen, where I actually don't do much physical teaching, but my application was weighted on so many other aspects of my contribution, and I still managed to, well, that was celebrated in an associate professorship. So Pam, do it for anybody else who is considering this. Do it. And we have a question in the chat box. Let's see. Please explain how much information should be added in the academic bio sketch. Would you like to take that one, Pam?
So for my academic bio sketch, I have my role. It's not long. It's probably about 100 words. It just gives an outline of my role in terms of at the university, so senior lecturer position. And then it talks about my research niche area. I know many people are in fields where you are doing a particular research study, perhaps HIV and TB. So maybe in HIV and TB, you're not looking at HIV and TB as its chemical components. You're looking at maybe perceptions or student perceptions or community engagements on it. So your niche is dependent on what publications you have in that area. So you talk about your niche area. You're also going to talk about your standing nationally and internationally. This is where your committees come in, right? And then you talk about your university standing. So it's basically those 4 key areas of your academic promotion that you succinctly summarize to give you those short paragraphs. It's like, if I meet you in the elevator, give me your elevator pitch about yourself before we reach from 5th floor to 1st floor, because that's all time I have. So when people read your bio sketch, they must know, oh, this is an impactful person and this is what they're contributing already, right? If you want, you could even say, I have national and international publications, and put in brackets 40 national and 20 international, those kind of things. So I think it's your elevator pitch. So mine is very short and very punchy, right? We had to do one because as drill fellows, it was one of the requirements, and it's not long. So that elevator pitch is for anything. They used it on us for the drill training in terms of our research. So you have this 1 minute, tell us your pitch, because I don't have any more time. So you want that funding, what would you say? So similarly, do that with your biosketch.
And how difficult was that for you? Yeah, I agree. I find it very difficult, and I'm sure I'm not alone in this, to speak well of myself. And that is, I guess it's a skill, and it's something that we need to develop, because that's very important, especially for funders or the people you need to convince that you are actually accomplished to progress in academia, progress in research. You need to be able to sell yourself well.
Yeah, 100%. It's the hardest thing to do is to sell your product, and that's yourself. You can sell everybody else's products, but you never ever find time to do it for yourself. I learned that the hard way. You do things for many people. You try to help people along the way, and that's how you get left behind sometimes. But it does not mean don't help people. It means help people, but also sometimes it's nice to say no and be a priority for yourself, especially for your own growth.
Absolutely. Well, before someone else has the last word or the last question, could I have one more for everybody who is interested in becoming an academic and might have actually just got scared by the workload and all the things that you have to do to make it in the sphere? Can you tell us what is your favorite part of being an academic?
For me, I say I don't take it as a job. It's like I love what I do. It's like I love teaching because as I mentioned, I started off from the bottom and I built up that ladder. So I've been through it all. I've been there with the student at the student level as a peer with the student. And then, it's been a journey. At one stage, my husband said I was a workaholic. But for me, it wasn't work. You wake up in the middle of the night with this research idea and you just pull out your computer and start typing. So it's I think it grows on you. And it's sometimes it is meant for you, it is for you. That kind of scenario. So I don't see it as a job. I hate the meetings, right? So
okay.
Sometimes we can say things in that 2 minutes rather than having this whole hour.
Yeah, this could have been an email.
I don't like about it, but everything else is very. It's things that I wanted to do. It's different things on a different day because we work with anatomy. It's not just we working with the cadaver. It's all different aspects. So it's never a boring day, and it makes you want to learn more. And because I want to be better for myself, I tend to attend all these workshops and these trainings and whatnot. And people will say, "But why are you here?" It's like because I still want to learn. I don't know this stuff.
Yes.
So it's your own personal mentorship for yourself. Self-mentorship, we should call it. Because
so I see we have a question. I was right. I was not going to have the last word. We do have minutes for this one. Elliot, I see you've got your hand raised. Would you like to voice it? Voice your question?
Yes, thank you so much. I just wanted to know, because Pamela did mention something about headhunt. I wanted to know under what circumstances does headhunt occurs, and is there any formal procedure that is followed?
Okay. So headhunting usually occurs for academics or even I think postgraduate students. I know we have a few that were headhunted, but it's all about your CV building and recognition, right? So people you need to work on those aspects for academia. So if you want to be headhunted one day, you have to be working as an academic at a particular level. So if you are right now a lecturer and you are feeling that you're achieving all your goals for a lecturer, right? And you feel that you're doing such a great job. You're getting great reviews from from QPA, from student evaluations, from your peers. You're contributing to society. You've got this community engagements going. That's when people start to recognize you. So when you go to conferences, you meet other people, right? And you network. So the networking is very important. By networking, you start collaborations, right? And once people get to know you, then people will start working with you, and then they know what type of person you are, your personality, and what you can contribute to that particular institution. And then if they feel that you would be a perfect fit for their field, then you join them. I see Prof. Aldous also mentioned that you can use LinkedIn as another platform for getting recognized for headhunting, but start building that CV.
Good
Right.
points, good points. And, Pam, in the chat box, we have so many thank yous and congratulations for a wonderful seminar. There's so many people who are interested in academia. No one was scared off. Thank you, thank you. And all this information that you've shared is so very helpful. Thank you. This session will be recorded and will be placed on the UKZN YouTube website. So please share with your friends, tell everybody this is how to get, how to make it in academia. Thank you so much for everybody to participating, and for Pam for all her insights. Next week, the 4th of October already, the Student Support Services team will be joining us with Prof. Subira Ramlal, psychiatrist, who will be presenting a session on happiness and how happiness is an inside job. Stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for this presentation, the participation, and we'll see you next week. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, Namaswazi. Thanks, Pam. You're the host, so you
Bye.
can close the meeting. Bye.
Wondering. Bye.
It's fine. Bye.